Good evening and welcome back to Sports Talk ATL. I am Chase Earl, joined by Alex. Lord, the Atlanta Braves kicked off their season in style, and by style, disgusting style. I mean, it was about as bad as it can get. Not only do you get swept, but the offense doesn't really show up, particularly in the last 2 games. You get shut out in back-to-back games. I can't imagine the last time that happened to the Atlanta Braves in the last 8 seasons. Like, I that might have happened one time. I mean, I really think it's that rare. So it happens in the first series of the season, especially the back end game. So it wasn't even like the Cease and King days. It was like the days you're expected
and Sunday
to have
night baseball too.
Yeah, to have a little bit of offense.
Watched.
The bullpen, the first game of the season, comes back to bite you, which I don't know how many times we had to say that on this show. And it's not just this show. If you listen to any Braves show, I'm sure they're saying the exact same thing. Like, what the hell are we doing with this bullpen? And that's my biggest takeaway. Like, people are going to freak out about 0-4 and the offense not playing well. And I thought the rotation for the most part was good. Like, Sale wasn't great and Ronaldo Lopez wasn't great, but they were good enough to give you a shot to win. Spencer Schellenbach was terrific. I thought AJ Smith-Shawver got knocked around a little bit. Changeup was awesome. You saw those secondary offerings that we've been talking about, the fastball again in the high 90s. So I thought there was a lot of good stuff to take away from that. And I'm not going to freak out about the offense for, the first 4 games of the season. These are guys that They weren't facing Dylan Cease and Michael King and that Padres bullpen all of spring training. Like, you can't really warm up for that. So it's not necessarily surprising to see them go up to a slow start. But the bullpen and the Hector Neris, who has now been DFA'd for Jesse Chavez, like, this guy was in your first high leverage situation of the season, and then 3 days later, he's getting DFA'd. And it's shocker. Yeah. You didn't go out there and do anything. You went cheap. You bought all these journeyman veterans, and it didn't turn out well. And as I said before the season, it's going to be one of those things where the Braves are going to have to keep adding. Every guy that gets DFA'd from other teams, don't be surprised if they're brought in. We're going to see a lot of going up and down with Jesse Chavez and Craig Kimbrels, and that's going to be going on for a while, guys. And hopefully they can piece it together because it's a mess back there.
Yeah, I don't know where to start. So I'll go chronologically. That way I can keep my thoughts in order. The biggest concern off-season wise was immediately rectified. Like, all of our worries, we were immediately confirmed. Like, oh yeah, you were right to worry about this immediately. Opening day, which should be a national holiday, by the way, spent it in Minute Maid, no longer called the Minute Maid. Astros Park was awesome. They beat those stinky Mets, so that was fun to see. But immediately, you're blowing a save. The first high leverage situation of the season, Hector Neris. Are you joking? And it would be one thing if we were just some middle of the road team who didn't have high expectations, but we're the freaking Atlanta Braves. Like, and I know they don't want to say it because of whatever. It is World Series or bust, and it is just the first series, so we shouldn't overreact. But to see the biggest concern of the offseason immediately rear its ugly head was just hilarious. All you could do is laugh and be like, yeah, that happened. And then you want to blame a different facet. It's the offense. And again, nobody should be too worried about a lineup, especially going up against a Padres pitching staff that is really good. Or even some of the starting pitchers, like Lopez got banged up a little bit. Sale didn't have his best day. Going against a star-studded Padres lineup. Like, not many teams are going San Diego to LA. Yeah, we got the Dodgers up next. It's not great. It's not going to be an easy two-series stretch. But I think all in all, some of the positives, I can certainly find some. It's not hard to look at. Spencer Schellenbach, absolutely unreal. The kid's got it. You're going to see a lot more of those, 1 inning or 1-run games, no-run games. I think AJ Smith-Shawver's stat line didn't really, show just how good he was. He lost, I think, the splitter and the changeup. As long as he's, finding the zone with his fastball, it's stuff that is frontline guys have those kind of offerings. And I think once he figures it out, he's clearly here to stay. And I think, we're going to talk about it maybe later or right now that when Spencer Strider does come back, it's not going to be Smith-Shawver that is either, option to Gwinnett or, makes a move to the bullpen. It's not going to be him. His stuff is too high. It's too, the upside is way too high to just, limit him. It'll be Lopez or maybe Grant Holmes or something. But that's kind of what we're looking for right now, I guess, in terms of, a light at the end of the tunnel talking about the bullpen. It is not even a reliever coming back. It's Strider.
Yeah, I mean, Spencer Strider, he was out there in Gwinnett. He looked pretty good, got 3 innings in. Still, obviously not up to where he needs to be to make a start at the major league level. He feels good, though, which I think is the biggest thing. He had 6 strikeouts, did give up a run. Not too much to put in the stat line. I think he'll probably go 4 or 5 innings next time, and then maybe we'll see if they're ready. They're definitely not going to rush him because all those 4 guys that we saw this series did pitch pretty damn well, and you're not going to take out Chris Sale. Right. You're not going to take out AJ Smith-Shawver after what he just did. You're not going to take out Spencer Schwellenbach. So there's time for this thing to work itself out, but I do think Spencer Strider is probably your biggest hope when it comes to the bullpen because, Ronaldo Lopez or Grant Holmes can go out there and pitch in a role that they've done very well in the past, whether it was Grant Holmes last year or Ronaldo Lopez years ago. And that seems like when I look at this entire picture of this bullpen, because Jesse Chavez, I'm happy he's back. It's a comforting feeling to have the old man back. And would it shock me if he goes out there and pitches pretty damn well for the Atlanta Braves? How the hell could it? Because he does this every single time. And I'm hopeful for Craig Kimbrell. I'm hopeful that story can be better than Hector Neris's, right? But those are 2 guys that are in pretty much the same boat. They're older guys who have lost a touch on their heater, and they've had very inconsistent results. Like if Craig Kimbrell came up and gave us the same thing we got from Hector Neris, wouldn't shock me. So these aren't exactly the solutions that you're necessarily looking for. You're hoping at least one of those guys turns out, and then you add Grant Holmes or Ronaldo Lopez back into the mix back there. And that really is the picture to me from where I sit today, because this bullpen, I mean, it's shockingly bad. Like it really is. Like Pierce Johnson and Aaron Bummer and Dylan Lee are like solid middle relievers that we're like, hey, you might have to pitch the 8th or 9th inning today. Like we didn't even see Raisel Iglesias this entire series.
Should be well rested.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully he's ready to pitch 3 games in a row and we have a lead against the Dodgers. But it's shockingly bad because
how do you even go to Hector Neris? And I know it's game 1, and this is so annoying to even say because it is game 1 and it is that stereotypical Braves fans freaking out about Snickers bullpen decisions, but Bummer, all the guys you just named are better options than Hector Neris. Like, I don't care if they're low, middle reliever guys. Like, they are high leverage guys now. They have to be.
Yeah, I mean, you wonder if there was some disconnect between Alex Anthopoulos and Brian Snicker on how, because, it is Alex Anthopoulos makes the roster decisions. Brian Snicker utilizes them how he sees fit. I don't know if they had a conversation about what Hector Neris's role, if they wanted to see him. Hey,
maybe they just missed. Let's hope that.
Can you go out there and make this, get these 3 outs? Can you go out there and be that guy and I think they found out pretty quick. Answer's no. Let's cut the cord. Or maybe Alex Anthopoulos just saying, hey, Brian, I ain't going to let you make that same mistake twice. I don't know exactly what it is, but we haven't even gotten into the meat and grit of like all of this stuff. Like when push comes to shove and you have a starter that only goes 2 or 3 innings, thankfully we didn't have that. And you got to cover 7 innings. A lot of these guys are going to be down. Like all of these guys are going to have to pitch over 162 games in big situations. So Hector Neris, the fact that it happened on opening day, maybe a little questionable, but like you were going to need him to do that several times over the course of the season if he's going to be on that roster. And I don't see more than 4 guys that I trust. And even those 3 guys that I named, like they're good. They're not elite though.
You know what's even crazier is I'm thinking back to some of the comments Anthopoulos made in the offseason about, some of the free agent moves and everything like that when they're talking about, or just moves in general and assessing the offseason. And he says something about, well, we think that we can replace Morton's production with Holmes. And he goes down the list of all the big names and he's talking about Strider and Fried because Strider got hurt, Fried's gone. And he didn't really say anything about the bullpen other than, well, we haven't really replaced Joe Jimenez. And I assume, they did try. But even if they did bring in another high leverage guy, like we are still missing another high leverage guy in AJ Minter. Yeah. Like we need 2 more high leverage guys. And then I'll feel good about everybody else bumping down.
Yeah, he didn't replace. I don't know. Yeah, I remember exactly when he said Joe Jimenez. And I said on the show, Minter. I was like, AJ Minter too. I mean, AJ Minter I know he dealt with injuries at the end of last season that ended his year, but this was a guy that was the high leverage reliever outside of the 9th inning for 5 years. Like it was just kind of weird that he just kind of, we're just going to skip AJ Minter, the guy that we felt more comfortable than just about anybody when Raisel Iglesias is not in the game for the last half decade. The guy who's been one of the elite setup men in all of baseball. Yes, he's had some struggles when they've asked him to close, but when it was 7th, 8th inning and AJ Minter came in the game, he was as good.
He's our best reliever for the past half decade.
He was as good as anyone. And you lose both of those guys, most likely for the season, because I've been hearing murmurs from some people in the know. I think Grant McCauley said it on the radio the other day that they don't expect Joe Jimenez to come back at all this season.
That's crazy.
So it's wild to me. And frankly, they signed Jeff Hoffman to a deal. Like, they knew this was a problem. Jeff Hoffman was inked, failed a physical, and it fell through. They were in on Tanner Scott, according to several high-ranking sources, and they get outbid by the Dodgers. Those are understandable for those things to happen, but why did you not? You knew you clearly were willing to spend top dollar on an area of your team.
It's pretty hilarious, though, that, like, again, game one, the first opportunity it could possibly bite the Braves in the butt, it did. So at least there's that, where Anthopoulos was like, okay, maybe we might not even patchwork this thing to the trade deadline.
I mean, it was shocking.
Yeah.
And I said it time and time again throughout this offseason as I was looking through this bullpen. And I'm sure if you guys are listening to anybody else talk about the Braves, they were all saying the same thing. Like, this was not rocket scientist. This did not take like the best GM in baseball, which we all think Alex Anthopoulos is very, very good at his job. But this is a huge, giant swing and a miss, just like the entire Braves offense this weekend.
Yep.
Just a giant swing and the miss. And it's going to be a problem
for months.
Yeah, there's a high leverage reliever. You can get some bums, and they will keep trying to add bums until one of them sticks.
We will be recycling the DFAs,
the Yanni
of the world.
Piranoses that you loved. Yeah, those guys are going to be all around Atlanta this season for the next 3 or 4 months, because the good guys, which will be available, aren't going to be available for several months.
Unless you overpay.
It's a problem that you didn't want to have. It was easily avoidable. These guys are not expensive, but it's bad. It's bad. There's nothing else that's the only take. That's the only hot take you'll get here. I can relax on everything else. The bullpen's a problem in Atlanta, guys.